Second time filming this. Maybe this time I like this one. Totally a perfectionist, and that is totally what I'm about to talk about. I can't believe I'm actually filming this. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon guys, and welcome back to my channel. I hope that you are having a beautiful day. Today I'm bringing to you a video which I have always wanted to film, and I really am excited to film it, but at the same time it's actually crazy that I'm actually sat here in front of a camera talking about my mental health story. So, quick disclaimer, all of these thoughts and opinions are my own, and please don't be hurtful, and if you're triggered in any way by talking about mental health, then just click out now. You don't have to watch this, that's your warning. If you're still here, then thank you. So yeah, I obviously have been through my own mental health. I have always wanted to film this video because these were the kind of videos that I would watch when I felt lost. These were the videos that I would look up when I didn't know what was going on in my head, when I wanted some reassurance that I was not going absolute crazy or turning into some absolute weirdo, psychopath kind of thing. You hear so much stigma around about mental health that I kind of turned to YouTube because it was just a bit more raw and honest, and you could understand people's stories more, and that's why I wanted to make one of these videos of my own. But obviously I've wanted to make this video since I started this channel, and I've just never had the balls to do it. Quite a lot of people don't know about my story. In fact, some people watching this will have absolutely no idea, but it's amazing that when you open up to someone, so many people start opening up to you, and that's one thing I've definitely realised recently, that I have started talking about it more, and more people come to me and ask for help because I've been open with them, and I just want to help someone because when I was lost I needed someone to help me, and I just think that it's kind of the kind of thing that I'm ready to do now, and ready to announce this, if it's an announcement. So let's go with my story. So when I was 13, I was obviously swimming, and if you've not seen my swimming journey, then it's linked below. It's definitely linked to my mental health. I struggled a lot with performance anxiety. I got really anxious around racing, and I put a lot of pressure on myself. I always have done. I've always been a bit of a perfectionist. I've always wanted to achieve my goals, kind of thing. And I've always wanted to be the best that I could be, and by trying to be the best that I could be, I was kicking myself down and being like, oh, that's not good enough. But what really is good enough? Like, let's be real, who the actual heck and Bob knows? So yeah, I really struggled with performance anxiety from about 13, 14 onwards, and this kind of drip fed into other areas. So I started exams, obviously, were around about 16. GCSEs and A-levels are such a pressurised time, and on top of that I had obviously racing. So I obviously had such an full-on day, and there was no real escape for me. So kind of, as you can understand, one thing led to another, and I started to get much more anxious. I would literally go from the pool, which was a pressurised environment. I would rush straight home, quickly get changed, go to school, which was obviously a pressurised environment with the whole exams, and I'd dreamed of coming to Stirling since I was 12, so there was quite a lot of pressure that I'd put on myself to come here. Totally just smiling because I made it. And then while I was at school, I would have to be thinking about nutrition and all of this, and then I would dash straight back to the pool, and yeah, there was just not really a breathing space, and I kind of struggled with that, and it kind of led into other areas. So I started getting panic attacks when I was around about 17, I want to say 17, and I really struggled with my anxiety at this point. So I went to doctors and they offered me medication, which I turned down at this point, and they also offered me counselling, which I was put on a waiting list for. So I was waiting for counselling, and I'd waited. They told me that it was like a 6-week waiting list. I can't even speak English. Waiting list, and the 6 weeks came around and I got my appointment, and then the counsellor was ill that day and I found out about an hour before because mine was a morning appointment. So that got cancelled, so I kind of resorted to a performance psychologist because my problem had mostly been around the pool. That's why I decided to resort for a performance psychologist rather than a normal counsellor, and I kind of worked with Jeffrey Webster. I tweet about him all the time, I Facebook about him all the time. He's an absolute legend. He's basically my big brother. And we started working together, and we started kind of trying to rationalise those thoughts, and those panic attacks came less and less, and I started to be able to control my anxiety a lot better. Because my anxiety had kind of dripped into daily life, I could use the skills that I was using at the pool to save for exams and stuff like that. It was really good for me to learn those anxiety skills from him, and to just kind of learn to put things into perspective and to sort of control what I can control. We did a lot of work on that, and I really think that the work that we did was really good. But then I started to realise that it wasn't just anxiety. So my anxiety kind of died down a bit, but I was still feeling just blue. There's no way to describe it apart from just down, and I just didn't feel like I was myself, kind of thing. I was just always down, always quite miserable, and struggling with a lot of these negative thoughts. So I went back to the doctors in April 2018, so I was 18 at this point, and they diagnosed me with depression. So I found out that I had depression at 18 years old, which was quite a crazy thing for me. I never even considered depression because there's so much stigma surrounding it. It's one thing to say I'm depressed, but it's a totally different thing to say I have depression. It's kind of that name associated to it that people are like, oh, what? But that shouldn't be the case at all. That's just kind of society that we have at the moment, and it is changing, which is great, but it needs to change a little bit more in my opinion. So yeah, I found out I had depression, and immediately kind of things made sense a little bit more. It wasn't a complete weight lifted off my chest, but it did make a lot more sense, the thoughts I was feeling. And I kind of beat myself up quite a lot about it. I kind of just took it as it was my fault that I was feeling that way, but in reality it was just brain chemicals, and it was just the synthesization of hormones, and I'm just trying to sound smart here.
Titanium has a nuclear reaction with a flux capacitor. Carry the two, changing its atomic isotoner into a radioactive spider.
But in reality it is not my fault, and it's no different than, for example, I've got glandular fever. I wouldn't beat myself up about the fact that I'm ill in that sense. So why would I beat myself up about the fact that I'm ill in a mental way? So I've only just recently realised that, and I feel like that comes with a lot of the stigma that surrounds mental illness. A lot of people kind of play off mental illness. Now, a lot of people watching this, if you're close family and friends, you probably don't even know that I have depression and anxiety. This is probably a shock to quite a lot of people, and the fact that I'm putting it on the internet is absolutely crazy, but I shouldn't shy away from it. It's not something that I should be ashamed of, and society kind of makes us feel ashamed of it, which in a way I'm actually proud of the things I've overcome. So in that way, I think that by putting this video out there, it is definitely going to help society and kind of allow people to talk to me more. I have started talking to more close friends, like my swim team and stuff, about it, and it's amazing how many people start opening up to you after you've opened up to them, and I feel like that is an atmosphere that I want to really grow. And obviously I can't take control of the whole world, but if we open up to people, then they'll be able to open up to us. So I feel like it's kind of our responsibility to open up and be honest with each other. So yeah, that's just my opinion. But the thing is, we all have mental health. Sorry, I'm looking down because I've got notes on my phone. We all have mental health, and to me it's crazy that there's such a big stigma surrounding it, because everybody goes through it. Now, not everybody has a mental illness, but we all have mental health. We'll all have down days, we'll all feel anxious at certain points in our lives, and it's only natural to feel that way. But to me it's absolutely crazy that we kind of shy away from talking about it in society. And don't get me wrong, society is growing and it is getting better, but I definitely think that society is kind of crazy in some sense, because you would openly say, I've broken my leg. You would openly say that, but you wouldn't openly say, I have depression. But the thing is, depression is just an illness. You can't control it. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, you can control it. Sometimes it's certain situations and it's very situational, but a lot of the time it is just chemicals in your brain, which I can't speak, sorry, so I don't know. But yeah, the thing is, I understand that there's no one size fits all with mental health and mental illness, but the thing that I find frustrating with it is the fact that the NHS struggles so much financially. Obviously, there's one thing that the NHS is amazing at, and that is providing us with the support that we have, but the reality is that they just don't get enough money to fund everything. And unfortunately, because society is so stigmatised, there is still a struggle in the NHS for sufficient counsellors and sufficient mental health research and things like this, which we need to change society so that those areas do get more funding. So the thing which I personally find absolutely bizarre is, obviously, mental illness is a life-threatening illness. Depression is life-threatening. You don't die from suicide, you die from depression, because it's just a life-threatening illness. And I think until that's realised within our society, maybe the NHS won't get as much funding, I don't know, but I definitely think that it's absolutely crazy the fact that there's a waiting list for help in mental health. Now, I understand that mental health is quite complex, and more people are opening up with society, and there's more and more need for counsellors and stuff like that, but at the same time, you wouldn't have to wait for an ambulance if it was something physical. And I understand that mental health is a little bit more complex and it takes time to recover, and by no means me making this video is me saying I'm cured kind of thing. I still go through it, I still have my down days and all of this, but I think the thing that's bizarre is the lack of funding behind the mental health sector, both kind of in the NHS and in other areas, so like schools and education, I think there's such a lack of
A few moments later.
how do I word this? So you do PE at school for physical health. Yeah, some of it's mental as well, but you do PE at school until a certain age. Why do you not do anxiety skills or CBT skills kind of thing in enrichment until a certain age? I think that the education system could, and I think it is moving more to benefit society, but I think that it could open up the less stigmatized areas of society and destigmatize mental health and help people in the long run. The fact is that at school it's such a pressurized environment. You obviously have A levels, you have university application, you have all of this thing. You're basically told you choose your path now, and you're like 16 and you're like, what? And you didn't have a clue what you want to do, but you have to choose there and then. And reality is, like, you can just chill, life's chill, and you don't need so much pressure. But sometimes pressure is good, and I think that's the balance that we need to find. And I think that mental health should just be talked about more. So that's why I wanted to make this video, to open up about my experiences with anxiety and depression. And I probably will do more videos in the future. This is just an initial ramble about my story. I kind of just skimmed over it because it's a lot to go through. 6 years of my life, it's a lot to go through in, the camera's saying 17 minutes at the moment. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. My Instagram is @dodds2swim, my Twitter is @dodds2swim. Follow me there, direct message me if you need any help, and feel free to like my video because it really does support my channel. Don't know where I was going with that, but like my video, speak to someone, because you're not alone. That's what I found when I was watching these videos, and it kind of really appealed to me that I wasn't alone, and that I thought I was alone even though I wasn't, and I thought I was going absolutely psycho and all of these things, but you're not. And also take ownership for yourself. Like, just because there's so much stigma surrounding certain things, you do you. I, for quite a while, let stigma sway the way I acted with my treatment for my mental health, and it was actually quite detrimental for me in the long run. So definitely just you do you, and please click that subscribe button. I have no idea where I was going with that, but just click the subscribe button, because I will post more about my mental health. My next video, which is kind of a juicy sit down chat story time, is about why I came off my pill, and that is related to my mental health. So stay tuned for that, click the bell, and I will see you guys in the next one. I love you guys so much, and I will see you then. Bye!